You get nothing, Nora. The words hit harder than I expected, echoing through the grand living room of my grandmother's Connecticut mansion. Sunlight glinted off crystal chandeliers and the polished wood floors, highlighting the expensive suits and designer dresses of 32 relatives gathered under one roof. At the center, in her wheelchair like a queen presiding over court, sat Grandma Margaret Whitfield. Her lawyer, Harold Banks, stood beside her, leather portfolio in hand, exuding professional patience. What they didn't know was that the machines keeping her alive, the around-the-clock nurses, the experimental treatments, every penny had been covered by me. My own hands had paid for the 3 extra years she'd been granted. The invitation had come 2 weeks ago. Family meeting, Sunday at 2 p.m. Attendance mandatory. I had been warned by my mother's worried phone calls, 3 times in as many days. "Have you done something to upset Grandma?" she asked, voice tight. "No," I had answered honestly. "Nothing at all." But that was the problem. In my family's eyes, doing nothing meant wasting a life. No corner office, no high-profile career, no husband, no children. Just me, my quiet nonprofit work, a decade of effort that went unnoticed. And now, sitting there, surrounded by my cousins and their polished successes, I understood. This wasn't just a meeting. It was a trial, a public reckoning. "Nora has wasted her life," Grandma said, shaking a trembling finger in my direction. "At 31, she has no ambition, no career, no real accomplishments." Across the room, Bradley smirked, as always. Hedge fund manager, cryptocurrency enthusiast, pride of the Whitfield line. Next to him, Veronica, newly minted corporate attorney, nodded approval. "I've watched all of you achieve greatness," Grandma continued, her voice echoing against the ornate walls. "Bradley manages billions. Veronica made partner at her firm. David runs 3 medical practices. Elizabeth's restaurant earned a James Beard. Each of you has made me proud. But Nora," her eyes fell to me. "Nora works at some women's shelter, scraping by in a tiny apartment, driving a car older than some of her coworkers." The room was silent except for the quiet beep of her heart monitor, the same one I had installed last year. "Today, I announce my estate plans," Grandma declared. "Everything will go to grandchildren who have proven themselves. Nora receives nothing." Applause broke out. My aunts and uncles beamed. My cousins exchanged smug looks. My mother sat in the corner, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. I rose to my feet. "Grandma," I said softly, crossing the room, "I understand." "Do you?" she asked, cold and sharp. "Do you understand the disappointment you have been? You wanted me to create wealth, to continue the family legacy. I've done something else," I said quietly. "I've helped people. Let others build fortunes. I've built lives." "You're serving soup to homeless women," she snapped. "That's not a real career. You make what, $30,000 a year?" "I manage," I said calmly. "I run a foundation, a network of 17 shelters serving 10,000 women and children every year." Her lawyer, Harold, cleared his throat. "Ma'am, we should review the actual documents." "Documents?" she asked. "Yes. There are payments recorded for your medical expenses over the past 3 years. Insurance covered maybe 20%. The rest was paid by an anonymous donor through the Whitfield Medical Trust." Gasps. My relatives exchanged incredulous looks. "Anonymous donor?" Grandma's voice trembled. "Who?" Harold's hands shook slightly as he opened another folder. "Authorization has been received to disclose the trust's founder. It is your granddaughter, Nora." The room went still. "I've been paying your bills for 3 years," I said softly. "Every treatment, every nurse, every piece of equipment. Because I could, and because you needed it to live." She stared at me, disbelief written across her face. "But you work at a shelter. How?" "Not a shelter," I said. "The Whitfield Foundation. Funded initially with my first startup exit. $32 million from Safe Connect, an emergency alert app I sold in 2015. We've expanded since then. 17 shelters, 200 employees, a $47 million annual operating budget." Bradley's mouth hung open. Veronica's eyes widened. You've been doing all this? In secret? Yes. Every family meeting I tried to bring it up. You dismissed it. So I stopped. I focused on impact, not approval. Harold continued flipping through papers. Mrs. Whitfield, your granddaughter has also paid for renovations to this home last year. Accessibility modifications, elevator installation, new roof, all covered through a separate trust she set up. Grandma whispered. $340,000? Yes, I said. Necessary for your safety. And done quietly. No announcements, no recognition. Tears streaked down her cheeks. My mother sobbed openly now. Why didn't you tell us? Would it have changed anything? Would it have impressed you or made you proud? I don't think so. The room was quiet, the monitors and murmurs filling the gaps between heartbeats. Finally, Grandma reached out a trembling hand. I'm so sorry, Nora, she said. So deeply sorry. I know, Grandma. I forgive you. Bradley spoke first, voice subdued. Nora, how can we help? One by one, they offered support legal services, volunteers, donations, expertise. The same relatives who had applauded my disinheritance were now falling over themselves to aid the foundation. I drove back to my 600 square foot apartment later, parked my 15-year-old Honda, and thought about perception versus reality, success versus impact. Somewhere tonight, a woman slept safely because of the work I'd done. A child had dinner. A family was rebuilding. That was worth more than any inheritance, worth more than applause or recognition. And for the first time in years, I felt fully at peace.